Ooh. Invite people.
Oh.
Okay, well it's live, and there's a finish button there. So.
So it's not.
Yeah, but it's not 10 o'clock, so we'll get a
Everyone
couple
can
of
hear
minutes, probably. And what you might see, messages will come up.
Okay, and I just ignore.
So if there's a message saying, we can't hear you.
I'll have to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to shout. It's funny, it's also yellow though. Such a
Yeah.
yellow light.
Very. Should we put volume to max?
Check it out. Yeah, should we start? Are there any messages there? Anybody saying that they're...
Crispy latest. Oh, do I have to approve them?
No, it's okay, so long as they're there.
Okay.
Add viewers. Do you have to add them? No, to be in your broadcast. No, that's, we don't want people taking part. This is my show.
Chris says I'm watching you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Chris. Okay, well this is... shall we begin?
Yeah.
Okay, well I'm going to begin. So welcome to this live broadcast from my 60th birthday retrospective exhibition at the Dundas Street Gallery in Edinburgh. We're outside looking in through the window and you, like so many people who walk by, will be thinking, if only I could get in through that door, because what's in the window is so exciting and alluring. So why don't you all come in and I will show you my exhibition. Come on in. So just to give you a general explanation in case you do make it in, the wall on the left and the wall straight ahead is all old work. So it's work from the last 25 years that has been very kindly loaned to me by various people, some friends, others collectors, and I'll explain some of the stories behind some of those pictures. And then on the right and the rest of the room is work that I've been doing over mainly the last year. So some work from lockdown and some work from what was actually a fantastic summer up in the Hebrides. But I'll start at the beginning with this painting here. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of these images. So maybe you could shut the door now, Inez, if you would.
Yeah.
And I thought, just as a general point to make, tomorrow I'm doing what's called an artist's talk. And I think that will mean that I'll talk much more about technique and that sort of aspect of the paintings, but I'm just going to tell you a few stories about these paintings and give you a bit of an overview. So this is the oldest painting here. I've rather clumsily named it Ruth, Daffodils and Kettle. I think I did it when I was at art college. So this is Ruth in our old flat filling the kettle, and that's probably yet another occasion when I bought her flowers and they're on display in the middle of the dining room table. So that's kind of the oldest one. And then, my idea for the exhibition was to have paintings. The idea actually was Richard Sharple's, my good friend Richard, and he'd said years ago it would be great to have a sort of progression of paintings of the family over the years, the children growing up and so on. So that's what this is. And it begins really with this painting, which is called Waiting for Isaac, and it's Ruth heavily pregnant, well actually 2 weeks overdue with our eldest son Isaac, under a lot of pressure to be induced and so on. So not looking very happy, but looking glorious as well. And so this is from 1997. I don't do many pictures like this because it's quite a portrait, although maybe this is why I don't do many pictures like this, because she doesn't look very happy, and Ruth will tell you what she thinks. And apart from the glory of the pregnancy, I don't know that she's that flattered by the portrait image. Anyway, that's Waiting for Isaac. So I'm not going to show you every single painting because there are 60 paintings, but I'll pick out one or two. And this is one that I'm very happy to show you and talk to you about. So this is a painting which is unusual for me actually, because I was working with acrylic and a pencil. It's called Barracuda Jump, and the title relates to a game that the children used to play. We go on holiday to a place on the west coast in Argyll called Skipness, and it has some wonderful beaches. It's a sort of farm estate, so we very often have the beaches to ourselves. And the title Barracuda Jump comes from a game that the children were playing where there's Sandy Bay, which is very sandy, and then there's Rocky Bay, which is covered in small pebbles with a kind of hill or a slope of pebbles. And the children invented this game where they would run to the brink of that hill of pebbles and then leap into the air and land into more pebbles with a relatively soft landing and shout Barracuda as they did it. And I was there with my camera taking shots of each child, or the child jumping, that's Isaac jumping, and Iris in pursuit. She was going to be the next one to jump. And they called it Barracuda Jump because they tried to think of what's the scariest thing that they knew, the scariest creature, or what could they be running away from and jumping to safety from. And they had just been to see the film Finding Nemo. And if you know your Finding Nemo information, poor old Nemo's mum was eaten at the beginning of the film by a barracuda shark. So that's why they shouted Barracuda as they leapt through the air. And actually this painting belongs to my friend Paul Henderson. He got it on his 50th birthday, and he's lucky to get it because we didn't have a present. We turned up at the party and it was very embarrassing not to have a present. So we rushed to the studio, and Ruth says that it was actually on the floor. Don't tell Paul. I hope Paul's not listening. He mustn't know that. So the next painting then is, this is called Tinningham Beach. Tinningham Beach, some people will know because it's really one of the best beaches in eastern Scotland, and it's just down the road really from Edinburgh. So this is the children rock pooling, something that Ruth does with them and still does, with younger children, with nieces and friends. And actually, what this makes me want to talk to you about is the fact that our children were always fantastically dressed for paintings, They had sun hats, because you know what Scotland's like for sun, you've got to be careful. But they were always, really fantastically well coordinated in their clothing. So, what's the job of an artist's wife? All sorts of things, but to have prepared the children so aesthetically well, I have to thank Ruth for that. And that's Iris on the right with a white hat, Inez in the middle with a yellow hat, and Isaac on the left. Well, what else now? So this is a painting belonging to Rona and Roderick McLean, who are very kind, appreciative collectors. And this is called Three Children and Aha. And Aha, as you probably know, we get this a lot actually on the east. Don't often get it on the west. This was Skipness again in Argyll, but strangely there was this mist. It wasn't cold, but it was misty, and I suppose, I'm an impressionist and I'm trying to paint atmosphere, and, like Monet before me, who loved the smog of London, when you get something like a heart, it's amazing. It's like paintings are being presented to you just there and then. The atmosphere, the atmosphere of the weather and the light. And so that's a very kind of monotone, not very colourful painting, but that's what was presented to me, as I say. So let's pull back, because the next one is a big painting. So again, this is still Skipness in Argyll, and this is Green Boat. And another great feature of this place where we've holidayed in Argyll is that there was a boat that went with the house, and so the children would often, and just outside the house is a lovely little harbour, so it's a very protected, shallow body of water, and the children would just row around and jump on and off the boats and create these amazing kind of dramatic images. Really, escaping, fleeing, dipping in the water. So I wasn't going to talk about technique, but you can probably see when I go close, I've worked a lot in many of my paintings with a roller, with a printmaker's roller. So, you see, I draw quite well, and it can sometimes be a problem if you draw too well, that you can end up getting fixed on definition and clarity and precision. And working with a roller, which is what I've done there, and trying to draw with a roller actually helps create a looser, more atmospheric effect. So that's a little bit of technical stuff there. The next painting is Children on the Lawn. So actually I do remember this really well. We'd had one of our holidays in Skipness, and I think actually it was a particularly demanding one. I think the weather was terrible, and there were a lot of us cramped into a small damp cottage. And then we had an invitation from our friends the vicars, who were staying in a much bigger house on Isla, and we went across, and there were various children there from our children's school, and a fantastic lawn outside the house, and sunny days. It was like this fantastic upgrade. We were taken out of something small and damp and put into something warm and dry and expansive. And the children just sat on the lawn. Somebody described this painting as a sort of parliament of children. So they sat in a circle and talked, and I got some amazing material from that. They told me later this rather burst the bubble, that actually they were saying bad things about their teachers, but it looked like they were probably saving the world. This next painting, this is called Patrick's Boat, actually, and I'm really happy to have this one in this exhibition and to talk about it, because it was bought by a doctor, a man called John Munro, who really was my kind of guardian angel. He was a doctor who bought art, collected art, but also put art into hospitals, and so many people were not just helped, things were, sorry, I'm running out of clear words here. The fact that these paintings were in hospitals was fantastic for people who were stuck in hospital, and it was fantastic for artists because it gave them exposure. And so he was someone who not only did that, but also went to galleries with my work and said, why on earth aren't you showing this artist? And because people respected his opinion, they took artists like myself seriously. So he bought this for his daughter Mary, and specifically, I think just before he died, suggested it should go to her son Patrick. So I didn't actually have a title for this painting, because when he bought it, it was just kind of fresh off the easel. So I've called it Patrick's Boat because it's now Patrick's. And it's Isaac, my son, and his friend Kitty. What John Munro did say was it was shocking to see children in a boat without oars or rowlocks. But anyway, there they are. So, I'm coming out a bit more. We've got a few paintings here. This is quite nice, I suppose, because then you can get a sense of scale. The big painting in the middle is Iris. It's a girl on a rock. It's called Girl on a Rock, and it belongs to my friend Anne Hunter, who's also a collector and supporter of my work. Hello, Anne. Yeah, so that's Iris standing on a sort of little bit of sandbank at Sandy Bay in Skipness, with the Isle of Arran in the background, actually, wearing her hat, of course. Now, I must keep this interesting for you all. Yeah, let's go in here. So this is called Beach Run, and it belongs to some collectors in Iceland, and so this has very kindly been shipped across, so thank you very much for doing that. And it's Iris and Inez and Topsy. So there are many features about holidaying in Skipness, but one of them, I've mentioned the boats and the beaches that you get to yourself, but also when you go to the beach, you can always call at the big house and borrow a dog. So Topsy the sheepdog often accompanied them, and it's this amazing light that you often get later in the day when the water goes kind of yellow and purple. And then coming back here again, just to give you a sense of scale. This is 3 children in a lighthouse. This presentation is all about our holidays, but anyway, most of my work is done. It's depicting things that we've done on holiday, because that's such fantastic material. The children were up on a rock here, actually looking at some seals. There's a point on Berneray called what's it called? Seal Point, or where you can get quite close to the seals who are out on rocks. But I've put a lighthouse instead. We used to go to Harris a lot, and there are a lot of lighthouses around Harris. I think that might be Scalpy Lighthouse. But I liked the idea of them looking out to sea. And well, in fact, this painting now it's in the collection of the Edinburgh Rudolf Steiner School. And they actually hang it in the library, so that's quite nice. It's got a sense of children looking to the future and maybe being guided by the lighthouse. So then I thought I would... I'm going to show you one more here, because this painting, Girls and Map, was a setup. So most of my paintings are really the children and Ruth in, quite kind of natural situations, not posing, doing what they do, running on the beach and out in boats and things like that. But here I just had this idea. I wanted to work with maps, and it's something that I really want to go back to with the next body of work that I produce. And I just got Iris and Inez to spread a map out on the sitting room floor, and I got some images from that I could then work with. And I'm thinking I'd really like to do that again. They're now, they're now young adults, and I think there's potential maybe to get the whole family together around a map. So we'll see what happens with that. So I want to now maybe show you. People have commented with the exhibition the difference between this painting, which is Kettle Bay. It's Inez and Ivan at Kettle Bay on Berneray, next to our friends Chris and Mary's bunkhouse, and that's from 2014. And people who are coming to the exhibition have commented on the fact that when they look at that painting next to the next set of paintings, which are from 2020, so there's 6 years from there to there. It's not just the lights, it isn't the lights actually, there's a much more colourful palette, and I thought that might be quite interesting for you to see the comparison. There's always a bit of an anxiety, well, this has been my anxiety for getting this work together. Paintings you haven't seen for years, and you might think, oh golly, first maybe they're no good, how embarrassing, I borrowed them and they're not any good. I didn't think that, I was quite pleased with them. But you might also think, gosh, they're really good, and what's happened, I can't do that anymore. But I'm happy that actually they're different, and I've ended up with a much more colourful palette, much brighter colours, and I don't know where it's going to go. That's probably the right way for things to be. They are more colourful for different reasons, I think. Some of you know that I wrote a couple of books, one on Degas and one on Renoir, and I had to emulate their paintings. And working with Renoir's paintings in particular, I had to get new supplies of colours. I started using colours that I hadn't previously used. And also I started putting on a lot more paint. So this one, I'm very pleased with this one. This is called Kintyre Waves, and it's the girls, that's Inez, and my nieces Matilda and Julia, and a friend Rosalind, all in the water. And what I like about this in terms of what I've been saying is there's a lot of paint, it's very colourful, but the colours are quite limited. So that's maybe something that I'm looking to work with. So these are the new ones. This one was bought on Friday, so I'm happy about that. That's one of my favourite new ones. So I think that was a good decision by someone. And then these are more of the new ones. Now, I don't know how you're getting on with the colour and the light, but this is a fantastic gallery, which I can strongly recommend to anyone. But it does, because the spotlights are so good, you might be seeing quite a yellow cast on the paintings. So here's my nephew and godson Hector fishing for mackerel off the pier in Berneret. And then just maybe to conclude, some of the more recent paintings, particularly of Ruth. This is Next Blue Dress. I don't know how well you're going to see the charcoal drawing, but you know that my subject is the moving figure, so that was great to work with the children. But of course Ruth, as those of you who know her, has a fantastic way of moving. People over the years have often stopped her and asked her if she's a dancer. And that means she is a fantastic model for an artist who wants to work with the moving figure. So there's a number of images here of her either putting on a dress or putting up her hair, which I've been working on recently. And I wanted to, so I'm going to go, if you let me just go over here. I probably have said a number of times the first painting, and that we've had 3 firsts now. So this is the absolute first painting in the exhibition. It's called Lockdown Light. So just maybe one more story. So I had a pretty good lockdown, I have to say. I managed to move my studio home, and I managed to get some of my classes online. So I was still in contact with students, and I was getting some income from that. And one of the things, I was trying to look for kind of positives in this thing of being locked down at home for everyone. And something about, I run classes at my studio, and something that's a bit limiting at the studio. I do portrait classes, people paint figures, portraits and so on. But there's never very much of a kind of setting for the model. A few drapes and a table lamp or something. But the advantage of having to work at home is you're surrounded by all these very authentic settings. So I had a project that I set for some of my students to open a door and draw through, George, through the open door, the room. And we had an amazing quality of light in, it was March and April, May, the beginning of lockdown, a fantastic quality of light, bright light coming through the windows, these sort of splashes of colour on the carpet. So I set this project for my students to draw through an open door, and I had a go myself and thought, well, this is quite a good thing to do. And so these images, these drawings, sketches of Ruth putting on a dress, I then superimposed her into these rooms, and that's been a really productive theme. And this painting, Lockdown Light 1, is an example of that. So I think I'm going to conclude in a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to let Inez take over the filming again, because I wanted to just, conclude. So I've also got, is this, can we see this here?
Yeah.
We've put together a catalogue of the exhibition, and I'm really delighted with the quality of it, and I'm also really delighted that Ruth has written an essay called Painting the Pram in the Hallway, which is very well written. So this is an advert. So you can either get these in the lobby on your way out of the gallery, or I can send you one. So they do cost £3, but that's the awkward bit. So anyway, just to let you know that there is a catalogue, and you could be interested in one of those. So I hope that that's long enough. Thank you very much for coming to this virtual tour. All of the images are on my website, so as I said, there's a bit of a yellow cast over the paintings when we've been looking on the camera. So if there's anything you wanted to see in more detail, you could go onto the website and you can click on them and it'll expand, so you can look at a painting in a bit more detail. So thank you very much. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock on Damian Callan TV, I'm going to do what's called an artist talk. So I'm just going to try and talk about technique. So those of you who paint and were interested in that might find that interesting. So I'll do something different from today. And my son Isaac has put together a very short film. We asked some of the people who'd lent us paintings if they would be happy to say something about their painting. So he's made a lovely short film of a combination of people talking about paintings and some images. So after I've done my artist talk, we'll show you that. So thank you so much, and I can see various messages coming through, and I'm delighted to hear from these people, especially George Donald. That's really good of you, George, to be there. And if I didn't thank you in the credits, but thank you very much for all you taught me, George. So there we go. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon. Bye-bye.